a panel of, let's say, there were how many of us? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven on the in the category that I was involved in judging, which was the channel category. So for the channel category, we looked at integrated campaigns, the use of media, use of data, use of insights and strategy, um, use of influencers and ambassadors. So the scope in terms of the areas of submissions quite broad. We looked at over 150 entry submissions from different places in Africa, and we all had the opportunity to judge individually. I think that when I look at our our average in terms of how we scored, it was pretty easy, and also because of the expertise of and the caliber of expertise of the people who were judging, we were pretty much aligned. There were a few areas where we had to go back, review, and come to a consensus, but it wasn't really that difficult. We met about 4 times to check ourselves on ones where we disagreed, and just to review and align. But generally, it was easy to come to the decisions that we made in terms of the awards that the submissions should receive. In our category, we saw some really interesting trends emerging. I'd like to say that the caliber of work that we saw coming through, especially in the integrated and in the use of data, um, were of very, very high standard. Um, and you begin to see that them being really innovative in the use and the use of strategy and the executions that they use to communicate their message. Um, Another thing that really pulled through strongly was the emergence and the use of influencers. I mean, we've seen that increasing across the world, but also on the continent for a while. But what we saw was now you have celebrity influencers and some Uber celebrity influencers who, especially in Nigeria, are all over everything, right? Um, then you have your nanos and then your micro influencers who are increasingly being leveraged by brands to push their communications message. What we saw that there's an opportunity in terms of how our brands leverage in terms of strategy around using influencers. We didn't see that coming through too strongly in the work that was submitted. So that's an area for growth. We saw emerging the use of data um, and in a very scientific way, which was really nice to see applied in some of the campaigns that were submitted. So they were really able to demonstrate how they had used data to translated that to the creativity that we saw executed in the campaigns. And I mean, it's not often we see that level of detail in work and in research being applied, but it's nice to see that we're increasingly valuing and also mining for data that we can really use to create insightful campaigns.